So when we think about technology, almost by definition, we think like modern times. But in the Bible, technology goes all the way back really to the very beginning. And so we're starting a new series, and we're going to this summer be talking about just technology. And we're looking at the ancient sort of forms of technology. First technology that shows up is actually in the Garden of Eden, when God created clothing for Adam and Eve. So we're going to go all the way back, and we're going to talk about technology from the beginning right up until today, and see what we can learn.
Hello and welcome to the For Lake Norman podcast. My name is Tina Johnson and I'm the communications director here at Lake Norman Baptist Church, sitting in for your regular host, Tucker Furr, who is away on a much deserved vacation. And I am here with our lead pastor, Anson Hanbury, and we are excited to be here with you today. Our church is one that seeks to bring healing, connection, and purpose to those all around Lake Norman through the love of Jesus. And we believe that this podcast, the For Lake Norman podcast, is an extension of that mission. So if you're new and joining us for the first time, welcome. And if you're a returning guest, we are so grateful for you showing up every week and listening. And we hope that you are experiencing some of the healing, connection, and purpose that we speak about based on the content, which comes from the service the week before. So today I'm excited to be here. We're going to be talking about a new series that just started this past week. It's called New Toys, Old Stories. What's the tagline?
Ancient wisdom for modern
Ancient
technology.
wisdom for modern technology. How could I forget that? So I'm super excited to dive into that. So Anson, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for being here, Tina.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Yes.
Well
Thank you.
done.
That was my first run at trying to sit in for
Smooth.
Tucker.
Very good. Very good. No,
So-
I'm glad to have this conversation. Glad that you're here. So thank you for
Yeah.
taking the opportunity to do it. And it's a kickoff week. So yeah, we're starting a new series.
Yeah.
Started it this past week. We'll be in it through the summer. We like to have fun with our summer series at our church. So
Yes.
last year we did the top 10 Bible stories. We asked our kids, what are the top 10 Bible stories that you
Yeah.
can think of? And we made a whole fun series about it. But we told a lot of familiar stories last summer.
Right. That's right.
Through the summer series. This year, we're going to take an angle on technology. And this came about, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. Tucker was, I don't know how he came across it, but he showed up one day and he was like, hey, do you know that Toy Story 5 is coming out this summer and it's going to deal with digital technology? And we thought, that's interesting. So this past weekend, Toy Story 5 came out. And so in honor of that, we kicked off our series. And so that's sort of been a catalyst for us to think about what are the toys that are coming out either for kids or for adults, the technologies that we play with, that we rely on, that we work with, all the things. And how do we think about technology? And how do we learn from what the Bible has to say? So we're going to go back into the Bible, all the way back to the Garden of Eden, and kind of trace some different technology kinds of themes through the Bible. And it's interesting when you can just sort of Google it and
Yeah.
say, hey, where does technology show up in the Bible? There's a lot of different strands. If you think of technology as something, an innovation that solves a problem or speeds up progress, well, in all different eras of history, there are different technologies, and they had a huge impact on the times, wherever it, the times that it was coming out in.
Yeah.
And so while there's always new toys, There's always old stories. It's
There
not a new story.
there are. In fact, in preparation for this, I did Google technology in the Bible
Yeah.
and in scripture, and I think I told you this before. I had never, I've been through Genesis a lot, which is where we're gonna start,
Yep.
right? And which is where this past Sunday was based off of 3, I think it was
Mhm.
chapters 3 and 4. I had read Genesis so many times, but never through the lens of technology and
Right.
how it shows up there, so
Because
that
who
was really
would?
cool. It would, right, but it was interesting because
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
Um, but to back up, are you a Toy Story guy?
I mean, I like the movies. I
Like,
don't know
have
that
you
I'm
seen them
I
all?
mean, I've seen Toy Story, the original one, I don't know how many times.
Mhm.
I've probably seen I know I've seen 2 and 3, maybe I've seen 4. I don't know.
Yeah,
But, yeah, I'm certainly aware of them.
yeah. I was the same, and in fact, I couldn't remember which ones I had seen, so I went
Yeah.
back. 1, I knew really well.
Yeah.
2, sort of, and I don't think my family watched 3 and 4.
Oh, really?
So in preparation for 5, we're doing like a movie run to see
Okay.
all of them all the way up because I do hear there was some debate over the ending of Toy Story 4. I don't know exactly what happened, but I
Okay.
know that it sparked some debate on whether or not people actually like the ending or not.
Oh, so
Yeah,
some drama.
some
Some
drama.
Toy
Some
Story
drama.
drama.
Yes. I think maybe it gets resolved in 5 just from the trailers. I did watch the
Okay.
trailers. But I do like that Toy Story 5 is bringing in technology because I think it's so relevant
Yeah.
to our kids today. I mean, I
Mhm.
know we have kids in all the different phases. I have a one that's going to be she's just finished up middle school and one that's going to be her senior year of high school and one in college and watching them being 3 years apart like that, I've seen how technology has kind of played into their life. So I think it's cool that Toy Story is addressing that
Yeah.
um in this 5th
Yeah,
rendition.
I think so too, and it
So,
gives us a great opportunity to talk about it,
yeah.
um, and to have some fun with it as well.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I know you've been right in the middle of making some little videos of our own that are playing off the Toy Story
Yes.
motif. So, as we start our sermons all summer long, you've kind of commandeered an operation to get some of our kids talking
Yeah.
about their toys and what have been some highlights of getting those put together?
Well, that's been a lot of fun, as it was last summer. So last summer, you mentioned earlier, we did, sorry, I hit the mic. In case you missed it,
Yeah.
was what we did last summer. So the kids got to be involved in
In
that
case you missed
process.
it, we did In Case You Missed It.
In case you missed it, we did in case, and you can see that on
Yes, you
our
can.
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But that was a fun. It was so fun to like relive the stories, and I think when we were able to bring the kids back in on this series, that was something that I was super excited about because to be on the other side of the lens is a really special place to be because you get to hear. The kids take ownership and they are quite the actors and actresses when
Mhm.
they get behind the camera. But what we're doing with them this time, which you saw in the past, this past
Yeah.
Sunday, is we're letting them show what their favorite new toy is. So some of them you will see the kids come on and explain their new toy.
Mhm.
And then they get to interact with old toys throughout the series. So that has been hilarious, first of all, because they don't know what a lot of the old toys are.
Yeah, like in the first one,
Yes.
the kid picks up a yo-yo and says, "Oh, this is a Slinky."
Yeah. This is definitely a Slinky, yes, he did say that. It was so cute, and then, I don't know, the yo-yo, like, that was never my favorite toy.
It's
I could
hard.
not do it, nor could any of the kids in the in the
No, they can't.
video,
That's right.
and I asked a few of them, like, "Would this be a cool toy?" And I think even in the video, one of the kids says, "It's not really fun if you don't know how to do it."
Yep.
But I could never get it to come back. Were you good at
I
yo-yo?
learned how to do it pretty well but I mean, not when I was really little, though. I
Okay.
was probably in high school, I guess.
Yeah. It's interesting, and you'll see them interact with toys throughout
Yeah.
this series, and, they get funnier as they go, like, the
Nice.
yo-yo is a very old toy. Like, in fact, when we looked up the research on it, and it's in the trailer, it was, like, 500 BC was the first
What?
sign of of the yo-yo, one of the
Really?
oldest toys, yes, and so kids today, not even knowing what it's called, but still, like, recognizing it, it's amazing that it stuck around
Oh,
for that
that's
long.
funny.
Yeah. There used to be whole competitions, yo-yo competitions.
So, like, that in the Bible so, like, a story like Daniel in the lion's den, that era,
Yeah.
that'd be around 500 BC-ish.
Yes. These
So they
people
might have been
re
playing with yo-yos,
I
you
feel
know?
like it's possible. We don't read about it,
No,
but it probably
Bible doesn't talk about
happened.
yo-yos.
No, I feel like it might have happened though, don't you?
Ah.
But
Now that could be a whole different strand of the series, like,
that
as we're because we're gonna be in a lot of different sections of the Bible. So
be
maybe we could do a little digging and find out what were the actual toys that
yeah,
people were playing with
yeah.
during
The
those
yo-yo
eras.
might show up,
All
I
right,
feel
this is
like.
a new series
It
idea that's emerging right here live on the
it
podcast.
it's good. Wait for it.
Good job, Tina.
But anyway, but that's been really fun, and the kids love being a part of it. You're gonna see some super fun interactions, but we thought it would be a cool way to segue into your services each week. We talked
Mhm.
about it, of seeing kids interact with old toys,
Yeah.
and then as you start to go back into scripture too, we thought that would be a lot of
Yeah.
fun. But they're kinda like a test group for old
Yeah.
toys. So,
How about that? So yeah,
lots
so
to
we're gonna
come.
have some fun this summer, and kind of unlike the top 10, this isn't exactly the bottom 10, but there's a lot of places in the Bible we're gonna go that are not the usual suspects.
Correct.
So I think that's gonna be helpful for all of us because there's
Mhm.
so much in the Bible that does get overlooked,
Yeah.
that are just, they're not the top 10. They're not the main things that we think of or that are the most familiar passages. So one of them is where we started this past week. Everybody knows the Garden of Eden. Everybody knows Adam and Eve. If you know the Bible, those are things that are
Yeah.
not unfamiliar. So Genesis 1 and creation, Genesis 2, Genesis 3 is the fall where the snake comes and tempts Eve and eats the fruit. And then they get banished from the garden. So that's very familiar. But then Genesis 4, like, no one ever talks about Genesis 4. So this is, life outside the garden.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the beginnings of people making their way in a now fallen, broken world
Mhm.
where, unlike in the Garden of Eden, where everything grew with no effort, God just provided everything, all the fruit on the trees and everything anybody could want, without hard labor. Now, part of the curse is okay. The ground's gonna it's gonna be difficult to produce,
Yeah.
food in the ground, and life's gonna be hard, and it's now a fallen, broken world. Um, and so there's some need for some new technologies to help people and animals live in a hard world. So there's now problems.
Mhm.
Prior to the fall, there were no problems,
Yeah.
right? Now there needs to be progress. Whereas in paradise, there was no progress needed. It was an ideal, perfect environment.
Yeah.
So now technologies are needed in a new fallen world. And so where we're starting this series, where we went this past Sunday, and I think I'm going to chat a little bit about it with you, just thinking about the implications of these earliest technologies. What do we learn from this opening section here? And the way I framed it was, this is really technologies around the basics. So what are the basics for human survival? Food, clothing, and shelter,
Right.
right? So
Mhm.
if you can eat, if you got clothes to wear and a roof over your head, those are kind of the fundamentals for survival in a harsh world. And I guess not surprisingly, these are the first things that we see developed, that you might think of as technologies, innovations that solve problems, innovations that speed progress.
Yeah.
So the first one actually came from God himself. So before they were banished from the garden, after Adam and Eve had eaten the fruit and they were aware of their nakedness and now they felt shame, there was now a problem. It was like the first problem in the history of the world
Right.
is the shame of nakedness,
Yeah.
with Adam and Eve. And so God invented the first thing, and everything else had been part of his creation that he had spoken into existence. So the
Yeah.
first innovation was God making something new, and he created clothing for Adam and Eve. And when you look up, technology in the Bible, this is what people will consistently point to as the first technology in
The first
history.
technology. And I think it's interesting to point out too that before sin entered the world, there was no need for this technology,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it seems like we get to the point where once sin enters the world, then we have a problem
Mm-hmm.
that we need to fix or something that technology needs to come in and solve
Mm-hmm.
for us. Whereas by God's design, initially as it was, there was not a need for that.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was provided for Adam and Eve. And then when sin entered, they realized their nakedness, and then it was a problem, and they're
Mhm.
like, "Okay, how do we fix this
Yeah.
quickly?"
Yeah.
And so they grab for the fig leaves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a very interesting thing to point out because I feel like even technology today, it is to resolve some perceived issue
Mhm.
of efficiency or
Yeah.
something that can be better and improved upon. And so technology enters in just as it did in Genesis.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great point, and I think you're exactly right. And I think its association with sin and problems in the world probably raises an important question that we need to think about with all technologies, because there's probably two general responses to technologies. One is you love it, whatever the new thing is, and
Mhm.
it's probably a personality wiring too. Some of us are more wired to say, I want the new tech, I want the new thing. I'm a fan of progress, anything that
Right.
advances progress. So one response to technology in general can be to embrace it
Right.
without questioning it, right?
Like those who stand in line for the new iPhone.
Yeah,
Even though the
exactly.
current iPhone is fine, but I gotta have the new one.
There you
People
go.
still do that.
Yeah, that
So
that's a
maybe
good
some of you do
example.
that.
A good example, right? So
Yeah.
you can embrace it without question,
Right.
or you can sort of reject it and fear it, right? And
Mhm.
technology's bad. Like
Right.
it's taking us someplace that we don't want to go. And
Right.
and throughout this series, we're going to see how I don't think either of those is usually an ideal response. Like we need to learn, and I think the wisdom we're going to see over and over again in the Bible is where is the good in technologies, and where are the cautions? Where are the potential dangers in the way that we interact with technology? But raising the point that the reason we even need technology is because sin came along and
Right.
and created a broken world. I don't think that necessarily means technology is bad, right?
No.
I don't think that
Right.
means technology is a sinful thing,
Right.
because God was actually the inventor of the first technology,
Mhm.
which I think is an interesting thing to notice.
Yeah.
So for those who tend to be on the technology is bad
Yeah.
skeptical side of the equation, I think it's helpful to go, well, actually, no. God saw this problem
Mhm.
and he solved the problem
Yeah.
by giving this technology to Adam and Eve. And in fact, the clothing, which was first, and then as you read into Genesis 4, you have so there's Cain and Abel, sort of the famous children of Adam and Eve, and the sad story is Cain killed his brother Abel, and that's a whole story. But because of that, Cain was a marked man.
Yeah.
And the issue that was happening in Genesis 4 is, people were coming after Cain's life. And so God put this mark on Cain so that he wouldn't, to protect him. And so just interesting ancient stuff in,
Yeah.
in Genesis 4. But the next early technology that shows up, the next innovation is that Cain became the builder of cities. And so a lot of time, I think, when you read the Old Testament, you read it and it's vast amounts of time that are going by in just a few words.
Yeah.
And so in half a chapter, we go from Adam and Eve and clothing in a
Mhm.
garden and having to leave the garden
Yeah.
to Cain, who was building cities, um, which is the next development of technology. And why would that have been important? What problems would that have solved? Well, for one, it's protection. So like structures to shelter, right?
Yeah.
To protect both Cain and people from one another. And so in this now fallen, broken world, you have violence and you have
Yeah.
um, people coming at each other.
Mhm.
Probably a scarcity of food and a whole the beginnings of conflict,
Yeah.
right, between people.
Because they're also like developing tools
Hmm.
and metalwork and things like that, that in and of itself is good
Yeah,
and for a good purpose, but it gets used against one
sure.
another. So it's like not really the technology itself that is the negative, is the condition of the heart behind it, right?
Mhm.
In everything that's being that's being built. So
Yeah.
it's like that I think when people take that stance of like, oh, this is bad, it's like if you look at it, the thing itself is not what's bad,
Right.
it's the intent behind it, and is it being used for God's goodness, or is it being used for some prideful or selfish or fearful reason?
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
And, you're right on point too, because right after it talks about Cain building cities, then you get a few generations of genealogy, and Cain had these sons, and they had those sons, and on down. So a few generations after Cain, you have, see if I remember the names correct. I think it's Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal.
Yes.
Um,
Ju Yeah, and Tubal was it Tubal Cain? Wasn't it like 2 names? Like he had
Tubal
2.
Cain, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, the third one,
Jubal,
that's right.
Tubal.
Maybe he was a hyphenated name after his great grandpa Cain or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, maybe. I
Um,
don't know.
so I think it was Tubal who was the raiser of livestock. So you have a nod towards some innovation and some technology around food,
Mhm.
because they're domesticating livestock
Yeah.
animals that would have been for food,
Mhm.
among other things, for labor and other things as well. Then you have Jubal, says he was the developer of the stringed instruments, and so you have, I mean, 4 chapters into the Bible, you have technology of musical expression,
Yeah,
which I think is really interesting.
yeah,
So the if you can sort of imagine how technology is changing the world, even in the earliest chapters of the Bible. This is still just one chapter after the Garden of Eden,
yeah.
right? So this is really like chapter one of the world as we know it.
Mhm.
And technology is moving so fast. Like, we think technology is moving fast today. I mean, and it is. Um, it seems to be moving now. Lots and lots of years were going by. So in actual real time, probably wasn't moving all that fast. But
Right.
as you read the Bible, you're like, wow,
That
we're
just happened, yeah.
15 verses in, and already we've got cities and musical instruments
They're
and
working the
livestock.
ground.
They're working the
Yeah,
ground, and then you got Tubal Cain,
yeah.
who is what's he doing? Oh, he's the
The
tools,
Yeah,
iron and bronze and things like
yeah,
that. That they're getting these tools to work the ground.
yeah.
Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal. That's what it is. Tubal Cain.
I don't know
So
anyone named Jubal or Tubal.
no, no, no. Nobody,
What if they were
nobody's doing that.
twins? You think, like, the rhyming names,
Jabal and Jubal.
is that where that came from?
Maybe. They might. I think they were brothers. Could have been. I'd have to go back and look.
Jubal and Tubal.
And then Tubal Cain, right? So, but point being, these are all sort of food, clothing, and shelter
Yeah,
types of technologies, and so far, they're all good. Like, there's no negative associated with them yet. Now, it won't be long in the sermon series, before we
yeah.
get to um, some examples in the Bible where, okay, these technologies were used for evil, right? And for
Mhm.
purposes that go run counter to what God is doing,
Correct.
which is certainly a side, right? We got to wrestle with both sides.
Mhm.
And like you said, it's the use of these things
Yeah.
that we need to wrestle with. Um, but so far, and I think it's a helpful point to sit with. In the beginning, these early technologies, the whole indication is the good that they did. And so technology is a good thing. Like, we want technology.
Yeah,
we 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 like technology.
yeah.
Even going off. So some of the ancient wisdom I think that we can gain right out of the gate is it's a good thing. Um, so I think there's a lens that we can be encouraged to look for the good
Mhm.
in our technologies today,
Yeah,
even while sort of being cautioned against some of the darker sides, or potential pitfalls of the different technologies.
yeah. And I feel like, when you take it back to the beginning, seeing that it was created to resolve a
Mhm,
problem. I mean, there's been so many advancements in medicine,
mhm.
in industry, and in all of these different things, even with new
Yeah,
technology. I think the problem becomes when we, as a sinful, God created us in his image with I think, a innate lean towards creativity.
yeah,
And so the fact that he's given those talents to people to be able to figure these things out in technology to make things better, we have to be careful that the reasons and the things that are being created are not becoming little g gods for
right.
us and
Yep,
like reverting our attention to any type of self-proclamation or pride gets in the way. And I think that's where when you look at it all the way back, they were good things. And we have to just keep a focus on the fact that it's not the technology itself. It's
yeah,
us behind it that
yeah,
can make it a bad thing because
Yeah.
we obsess over it or we rely too heavily on it. And that could be the clothing, that could be the shelter that you
Yeah.
speak of, that could be all the things that
Yeah.
you mentioned here that can be good things that we can put and elevate above God, which makes it a bad thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
So
So,
in your life, Tina,
yes.
so you're a mom. You mentioned your girls
Mhm.
and family life. You're a wife. You and I are about the same age. So in this category of food, clothing, shelter, technology, are there certain technologies that stand out to you as, oh man, I don't want to have to live without that technology? Or times in your life where like you can remember the new technology hitting your household and how that
Mhm.
impacted the way you did life? Is there anything that comes immediately to mind?
The phone. Like like, I
Which phone? Like the cell
which
phone you're talking
phone?
about,
I'm
or
talking
like
about a
the
cell
one that used to have
phone.
the cord that goes to the wall that you and I both remember?
We do remember
Yeah.
this. You're really dating us here on this podcast. I do remember that, and I remember my first actual cell phone.
Yeah.
Cell phone. It was big. It was, like, also promoted as a way of self-defense
Yeah.
in a trouble situation because it was so big. I guess you could hit somebody with it? I don't know. Do you remember these
Oh
big
yeah, like the
ones?
original cell
And
phone.
you
Yeah,
had,
big old
like, a
block,
thing that
like a
pulled
brick.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I have seen it emerge over time, but as I think about it and I think about certain apps on the phone that we use, like, for our kids, I think about, Life 360 is a big
Mhm.
one for us, and it's just, like, that sense of security that we have to be able to know, our kids made it safely somewhere, and I think about my parents all the time because they had to have a trust factor when they let us out the door that we were gonna come back at the appointed time.
Mhm.
There was no check-in,
Yeah.
or we would go outside and we would play all day, and I think the world has changed so much, like, I can't imagine sending my kids out now because I have, I guess, a dependency on the assurance of being able to kinda see they made it from point A to point B.
Mhm.
Do your kids use Life 360? Like, do you
We
have it on your phone so that you know?
yeah. Yeah. I mean,
There's a
we
comfort
yeah,
in that,
the
right?
older ones are kinda beyond that now. We don't follow them on Life 360 anymore,
Right,
but
right, and I
yeah,
don't
we
obsess
had our
over it.
seasons of it for sure.
Yes, I
Yeah.
don't obsess over it, but it's more of a comfort,
Yeah.
I feel like, to know that they're okay and that they
Mhm.
made it somewhere safely, not I know some people again, it's something that you could obsess over and not have trust with your kids, like,
Mhm.
you could turn it into a bad thing or you could use it as, like, a sense of
Yeah.
security, but the phone is so much, right? It's your calendar, it's
Mhm.
your, method of communication, it is a way to navigate from one place. That's another one. I could say so many things, like, remember the old GPS? Like, when that came to be, we used to go
Yeah.
places with a paper map,
Yeah.
and we would have to route the course before you
Yeah.
ever started on your journey.
I remember paper maps and atlases. Remember the atlas? Like a big
Yes.
map book that would be
Yes.
all folded up in the glove box or,
Yes.
under the seat in the car.
I don't think I could live without the GPS anymore. I don't know if I could
Now
go
you just
back
follow the blue dot.
to the paper map.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and that's on your phone
Yeah.
also. And I think, for my girls, they never knew life really without that type of technology supporting them, even if it was through me
Mhm.
that they were being supported because they got to where they were
Yeah.
going, but they never saw me break out the map or pull the corded phone off,
Yeah.
off the wall. But for me, those are the things. And I think
Yeah.
for them, really it's the phone too. But that's again where it can become something that you forget to do life because you're so fixated on the things that are happening on this screen that you forget to actually have a conversation with
Mhm.
somebody. I think it's harder for my girls. Sometimes they're so used to technology and being able to text things that an actual conversation like we used to have on the phone, um, they don't really pick up the phone and talk
Yeah.
to people as much anymore. They do face to
Yeah.
face when
Right.
they get
Right.
together, but texting is so much easier. Like
Yeah.
there's conveniences that come
Mhm.
with it. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's an interesting there's so many things. What
Yeah.
about you? What would
So
be
I'm trying to think specifically about like food technologies or clothing or shelter technologies. And I think, Tina, it came about in our lifetime when we were kids, like Velcro sneakers.
Yes.
I think they were a
Zips.
new thing
They were called
when we were
zips.
little.
Yes.
Like, I remember learning to
Yeah.
tie my shoes as a little bitty kid, and then at some point, it was like you could do the like
Yes.
Velcro on your shoes. I think I remember
Yes.
the invention of Velcro, at least the application of kids' shoes.
The
Um,
zips.
yeah. So here's one though that like we talk about this in my house all the time. So in our lifetime, clothing technology. So like the whole category of athleisure,
Yeah.
right? Where it's not just cotton clothes or
Mhm.
wool or linen or silk, kind of like the natural fibers, like the synthetic fibers
Yes.
in just about everything that we wear now. And it made things stretchy, right?
Yeah.
So I remember like our jeans when we were young were like really stiff jeans. And then they started to
Yes.
weave in like synthetic fibers. And now we got like stretchy clothes and
Yeah.
we love the stretchy clothes. So good, lots of good,
Yes.
and moisture wicking and sweat, all like for,
Yeah.
working out and all the things. So a lot of things to love about clothing technology kind of down that lane.
Yes.
But then now there's a new pushback against it of, all the microplastics and things like this. And so
Yeah.
there's this move back toward kind of organic fibers in our clothing. And so
Yeah.
there's a debate. I mean, there are people that are really passionate,
Yeah.
on different sides of how good is this clothing technology? How should we think about this clothing technology?
Yeah.
What's it doing to our bodies when we're wearing the new tech clothes versus the old tech clothes? And
That's so
to,
interesting you
yeah, I
bring
mean,
that
that's
up.
it
Yeah.
to some people. I mean, to a lot of people, that's a big deal
Yeah.
to kind of wave the flag and go, hey, for the last however long, let's say few decades, we've just been going down this path of embracing this technology and it's made clothes cheaper. So you can have like more durable clothes, higher performance, cheaper.
Yeah.
Um,
Although
yeah.
athleisure has gone
That's
up.
yeah.
That's a different
If it got
category,
certain
right?
brands attached to it, it's
That's
not
right.
cheaper. That's true.
That's right.
Um,
That's right. But I
yeah,
will say, I remember, and I was thinking about this with the Garden of Eden. So you start with the fig
yeah,
leaves. Then God even provided then and was like, no, that's not enough
yeah,
covering, and like and gives the animal skin.
yeah.
But I remember as a kid, it was before, like, this was I guess you could probably go into a Walmart back in the day too, but this would be like
I
a
remember when the
Kmart
first
or a
Walmart came
Rose.
to town.
I know, that's when I was like, "Okay, that's really gonna sound old if I say before Walmart,"
Right.
but it kinda was. You would go I remember my mom and there's pictures of my sister and I, and we would have matching dresses, like, really cute,
Yeah.
stylish clothes, and I remember my mom sewed a lot of the clothes that we wore, and I can remember her going into a department store or what would you call a Walmart? It's not a department
Not a
store,
department
like
store. It's like a
a
superstore.
what would a Roses or a Kmart, like, those are the ones that are coming to mind that I can
Pick
think
and
of.
save.
Something, and there would be a whole material section, and it was all of
Yeah, I remember that.
these materials and patterns. So you would go pick out the little envelope pattern, and it would have a drawing of what
Yeah.
that shirt or dress or whatever was gonna look like, and it would be this thin, flimsy paper that she would lay out and cut out the material
Mhm.
to make the clothes.
Yep.
I barely know how to sew a seam in something that has a hole in it, and
Yeah.
she could do this by hand, then it was by machine, like the sewing machine. Remember those
Yeah.
that would, like, fold down like a
Mhm.
table, and then you could pull the whole machine. Anyway, but I remember that, and that's something my kids don't know how to do, and there used to be home ec classes that would teach you
Right.
these skills, and now it's like you don't even have to go to a store to go buy your clothes. You just go right on, Amazon or
Oh,
any
yeah.
online, like, you don't even have to go anywhere.
They'll
There's,
ju
like, so
they'll
many
just show
convenience.
up.
Yeah, mass produced, and who
Yeah.
has a sewing machine?
So
Some
that's
people.
interesting. Are there fewer people sewing today than there were when like, 'cause I remember my mom doing the same thing. Thankfully, she wasn't making boys' clothes. I think it was, like, dresses for my sister and stuff like that.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Um,
Maybe she made some of your pants. Like
I don't
like the
remember wearing
khakis or
I don't remember wearing homemade pants. Um,
You should
if
check.
I did, maybe I blocked it out.
I was gonna say check the
But
pictures.
but I wonder if the technology around clothes has caused a reduction in people making clothes at home. I mean, it seems that
Oh,
way just,
for
like,
sure.
anecdotally, like,
Yes.
I
Oh,
don't know. I mean,
1,000%.
Dina sews, but it's out of, like, hobby.
Yeah.
It's not to put clothes on our kids.
Yeah, what is she making?
Quilts,
Yeah. I
um,
feel like people still do things like that as a
scarves,
hobby,
like, knit hats, stuff like that, but it's not like
but
the
not
essentials.
blouses and
Right.
dresses and
Exactly.
things like
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. She made a
yeah.
couple of dresses for our girls when they were little, but I think that was more because she wanted to, and it was,
Yeah.
like, a fun, creative hobby, not like, "This is this is how we clothe our children. We go
Right.
to the
Right.
store and we pick out
The
I don't know,
the
the
patterns.
patterns and all that."
Yeah.
So and maybe it's just because there's so many more stores, like,
Yeah.
it's not just going to, the
I
department
also
store at the
think
mall.
this is a good point as to why people fear technology because it is a fact that technology has replaced in many industries the need for actual people to
Mhm.
physically be in a space. So there's mass production of clothing now. There are whole facilities that it's a line,
Mhm.
doesn't they might not be made as well and they have synthetic fibers,
Yeah.
right? Whereas maybe the clothes of old did not. But I think that's why some people have such a fear of it because it seems to have taken out the human element
Mhm.
that used to be. That's why you see like factories and warehouses and things like that shutting down because something bigger came along that replaced the need for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think that's why you get some pushback from people when it comes to technology because they hear it as no longer needing
Right.
that human element
Which is a new problem,
of
right?
it.
You solve one problem
Correct.
and a new problem gets created, so you need a new technology, and so it's kind of an endless
Yeah.
cycle that feeds itself, which is probably a helpful observation to make just as we think about technology, right? Okay, we can get excited about it solving whatever problem we feel the pain of,
Yeah.
but probably one of the wise things for us if we're gleaning some ancient wisdom from modern technology is perhaps to anticipate what new problem might this create. Let's at least be considering that
Yeah.
more often than not, perhaps, when one problem gets solved, there's going to be a new one that we may not have identified yet. And so
Mhm.
that may be a bit of the wisdom that we're looking for
Right.
is both appreciating the problem that's being solved,
Mhm.
but also recognizing just one of the truisms is that problems aren't going to go away in
Mhm.
life, right?
Right.
We believe when Jesus returns and the world as we know it is it comes to an end and the new kingdom in eternity is ushered in, well then it's a return to paradise, where we won't have problems anymore. But
Mhm.
in the world that we live in now, there's going to be problems, and it's this endless cycle of solving old ones and the creating of new ones. And so
Mhm.
technology is always going to be right in the center of all of that. And in many ways, like we're talking about food, clothing, shelter, some of them are very personal
Mhm.
to our daily lives.
Yeah.
There's a lot, and we'll talk about them through the series that are global or national that have to deal with not just individual lives, but with societies and how they interact. Um, but at least for now, as we're kind of sticking our toe in the water of this whole technology conversation, there are very personal areas of technology that solve some problems and create some problems.
Mhm.
And I think being clear-eyed and appreciative of the value and the good. God was the first inventor of technology. Um, but also, yeah, anticipating some of the problems that may emerge, but that doesn't mean we don't go there at all, right?
Right.
But I think it's
Right.
just we want to be wise. We want to be measured.
Yeah. And I think also like remembering that technology, yes, can help put a Band-Aid on a current
Mhm.
issue, but not letting that thing replace
Mhm.
our need for reliance on God for
Mhm.
his provision. And not always, I think what technology does do a lot of times is it takes away our contentment because we're always looking to the next best thing, or we're always, kind of victim of comparison of, oh, well, they have this, I need that. It's like we kind of forget that God is the ultimate provider, and we don't always have to have the next best thing, and we don't
Hmm.
always need to lean
Yeah.
into this, new thing that comes about because 'cause there'll always be something new.
Mhm.
Like you said, to your point, there'll always be a problem to resolve, and I think remembering not to forget that Christ is the one that we need
Yeah.
to lean on even even with these new technologies
Mm.
available, And I feel like that's where, and maybe that's from the movie, the pieces
Yeah.
that you're gonna draw on that over the course of this series are going to draw out is that we can lean so heavily into a device or a technology or a thing or always needing
Yeah.
something new
Yeah.
that we forget to ever express gratitude to God that it was even provided to us to
Yeah.
begin with, to recognize Him as the ultimate provider and the one who
Mhm.
gave us these talents or these resources or these abilities. We can become prideful. Like, I feel like there's so many elements that we have to be careful that we're not making these things, whatever
Mhm.
they are, God's. Little,
Yeah.
I say little g gods. I did a
Yeah.
study with the women's Bible study on no other gods. And it was, when you actually dig down and look at the different areas of your life that can become priorities over where you're placing God in your life, I
Mhm.
think that that's something that we have to really throughout this series maybe look inside our own hearts. And are there things that we're putting our trust in
Mhm.
above Christ,
Yeah.
who should be receiving that from
Yeah.
us?
Yeah. I think that's great, and I think you're putting some really good words to one of the things I talk about a little bit in the sermon is if we're asking technology to solve, like, eternal problems or problems of, like, technology always is gonna be effective to solve certain problems,
Mhm.
and good technology does a good job of that, but it's never gonna solve the problem of, like, our identity or our selfishness
Right.
or our brokenness or I things that are like soul level problems. So sometimes I think we look to other technologies to solve some problems that only God can solve.
Right.
And so we can throw ourselves into something new and exciting and are helping us make progress. And that progress can be something that we look to sort of to solve something deeper. At best, it might mask it. Um,
Right.
so I think getting clear on what's the problem that we're looking to technology to solve, whatever kind of technology
Mhm.
it is, because I think it's very easy for us to latch on and kind of find an identity in either being the going all in on a techno. So like let's take and we're jumping ahead to like some different technology, but it's like we'll talk about this a lot in the series, but like AI is like, obviously the big technology right now, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain personality type that is building a whole identity around how good we are at using AI. Like if I can be the person in the office that is the AI expert and
Mhm.
everybody's coming to me for which is not me, but I'm putting myself in another person's shoes, right?
Right.
But there are people who that's sort of like their identity. I'm the AI guy. I'm the AI girl,
Yeah.
right? Um, or the opposite. Like my identity is resisting it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not touching that technology. And we can sort of build our own identity around our relationship either for or against technology. We
Mhm.
talked about like the organic fabrics and things like that. Like I could be on a crusade, against synthetic fibers
Mhm.
and, find some sense of worth as a
Mhm.
person by
Mhm.
being a crusader against this technology.
Yeah.
But that's only like that's a soul level issue,
Yeah.
if I'm looking for a sense of worth
Mhm.
in my relationship for, with or against the technology, well, that's an issue that only God can solve. And I think
Right.
sometimes the excitement and value and progress of a technology or the perceived threat of a technology
Mhm.
is something that we've either found a new friend that gives us an identity or we found a new enemy that gives us an identity,
Mhm.
but we need to look a little bit deeper. I think maybe that's one of the perils of technologies in general is because they can be captivating to us in ways that we need to just recognize, okay, they're almost by definition temporal. Like the new technology today is going to be temporary. There's going to be another one that
To
comes along.
replace it. Yeah.
So temporary problem solvers
Yeah.
can't solve eternal problems.
Yeah. And I think AI is, I know you'll be talking about this, but I think that's one where people are utilizing that not just in a way of being more productive, but I remember the first time one of my girls actually showed me something that it
Yeah.
popped up on her phone. And so she asked a question and it was like about a friendship or
Hmm.
whatever. And the scary part for me was that the response that came back to the question was pretty good.
Hmm.
But in a scary
Yeah.
good kinda way, it was like, we don't need to get to the point where we're relying on, like, AI as who we talk to for advice,
Right.
and I think that's the part where we have to, like, remember we need to talk to God
Yeah.
about the issue, whatever it is,
Yeah.
before we try to fix it
Yeah.
with technology
Yeah.
or
Or
asking technology
yeah.
to fix
Or
it,
yeah, talk to our friend or talk to our family
Talk
member or talk to our
to yeah,
spouse.
don't
Yeah.
stop talking
Yeah.
to people because you're
Yeah.
utilizing technology to
Yeah.
be that person
Yeah.
that fills in for
So
you.
yeah, I'm sure AI is going to find its way into a lot of the conversations that we have over the
Proba
next several weeks.
Probably so.
Um, but I think we've scratched the surface.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
I
we gotten the ball rolling here, and so
agree.
that's good.
No, I think it's great, and I think it's gonna be a great series. I think this is a good transition because we don't wanna give away what's to come, but this
Yeah.
has been really good. I love the food, clothing, shelter, like,
Right.
going back to the basics and seeing how scripture actually does introduce those things into our life, and then seeing how it kind of
Yeah.
flows through, like, toiling the ground for the food and things
Yeah.
like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's a very
Yeah, and hopefully
interesting
that gives us
take.
some food for thought. No pun intended, food for thought this
Yep.
week. But like we talked about clothing and kind of shopped that a little bit, but we could have done the same thing with like food technologies and how we think about,
Yeah.
processed foods versus organic foods and all the things. That's go to Whole Foods down the street.
Yes.
There's whole industries based on,
Yes. And people that will
yeah.
fight their
Oh,
position
yeah.
and
Yeah.
will go hard at others who don't think the way that they
That's
do.
exactly right.
And again, that's a whole 'nother sermon
And
you
we could
could
go down the road of like smart
could
homes,
preach.
right? We
Yes.
could you can be on vacation anywhere in the world and you can change the temperature if you forgot to turn your thermostat down at the house, which is a great, I think, little piece of
It is
technology.
great. It is
Um,
great. You can
but
water your yard. You don't
you
even
can
have to
you
be at
can
home.
do it. You can do it all.
You can talk to people at your door
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Ring.
yeah. That's right. So
You know
lots of
they're
the home
there.
technologies that center on this like shelter, right?
Yeah.
Lots of sheltering technologies. So maybe something to think about this week. Like
Yeah.
as we all kind of think about food technology, clothing technology, shelter technology.
Mhm.
How can and should we be thinking about this from a historical, biblical, theological framework that says, okay, what are the real problems that these things are solving in real ways? Let's appreciate those.
Mhm.
Um, what are the new problems that may be
Yeah.
being created, and how can we be cautious and wise
Yeah.
in our approach to these things, and what what eternal problems might we be looking to solve with temporary solutions,
That's right.
and things that we really need to go to God for,
Yes.
not whatever the latest tech is. So let's think well about these things, especially in these personal categories that
Yeah.
we're digging into right now.
No, I think that's great. I think that's a great place for us to kinda segue out of this, but, yeah, I think just making sure that we're always consulting the one who created us,
Yeah.
um, before we try to resolve issues. Let God know what those problems are, and make sure that we're leaning on Him more than we're leaning on technology. So,
Well said, Tina. Thank you
yeah.
for being here today. This has been
Yes,
fun.
yes, this has
Appreciate the
been
chance to
fun.
chat.
I am grateful for this opportunity,
Yeah,
and we hope Tucker is having a great
I bet he
vacation.
is.
Yeah, I bet he is too. But thank you all for joining us. Again, if it's your first time, thank you for being here. We'll hope you'll come back. And for those of you who are regular listeners, we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the end of the episode. If you're enjoying these conversations each week, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube or the follow button wherever you listen to podcasts. It's quick, it's free, it's easy, and it makes a huge difference in helping our podcast reach more people in the Lake Norman community. Thank you for supporting the For Lake Norman podcast, and we hope you have a great week.